Prevention is not the gentle cousin of enforcement. It is the harder and more important discipline. And there is no more fertile ground for prevention than classrooms that forms those who will one day stand as custodians of justice.
We are hopeful, or I am particularly hopeful, that going forward in the very near future, the program will be extended beyond the faculties of law into all other programs in Nigerian universities, because the problem of corruption is a universal phenomenon.
Hello viewers, and welcome to this week's edition of Transparency Files. I am your host, Murna Barnabas Atiai. It is no longer news that corruption undermines justice, weakens institutions, and slows national development. While laws are essential in combating corruption, the effectiveness of those laws depends largely on the integrity of those who interpret, enforce, and defend them. This is why ICPC believes that anti-corruption education should become an integral part of legal training. Law students are the future lawyers, judges, prosecutors, legislators, and policy makers. Equipping them with a solid understanding of anti-corruption laws, ethical principles, and accountability mechanisms prepares them to uphold justice with courage and professionalism. Our focus today on the program is on what ICPC is doing to bring about the infusion of anti-corruption into the curriculum of law in Nigeria. Later in the program, we shall bring you reports from our state offices and other exciting statements. Stay with us. You're watching Transparency Files. To achieve this purpose of integrating anti-corruption education into Nigerian universities and Nigerian law school, ICPC began a zonal workshop in collaboration with the Nigerian Law School, which has been held in Abuja and Kano. Speaking at the Kano zonal workshop, ICPC Chairman Dr. Musa Adamu Aliu SAN said that the values acquired during legal training often shape the professional decisions lawyers make throughout their careers, making the classroom one of the country's most important fronts in the fight against corruption.
And we often speak of corruption as Nigeria's greatest obstacle to development. And it is. But we must be honest about where it is defeated. It is rarely defeated in the courtroom. After the damage has been done, the trust broken, the public are ready made to pay. It is defeated, if at all, much earlier, in the wide formation of character, in the moment of young persons who decide what kind of professional he wants to be. By the time the matter or any problem that reaches ICPC, society has already lost. Prevention is not the gentle cousin of enforcement. It is the harder and more important discipline. And there is no more fertile ground for prevention than classrooms that forms those who will one day stand as custodian of justice. These places are peculiar weights on the legal profession.
The former Director General of the Nigerian Law School, Professor Isa Hayatu Chiroma, SAN, in his remarks, described the engagement as a critical step in the Commission's broader strategy to secure the buy-in of Nigeria's education sector in the fight against corruption. He went on to say that the workshop, which was a build-up on an earlier engagement held in Abuja, was expected to produce a curriculum that could eventually be adopted by the Nigerian Law School. Let's take a listen.
Basically, most lawyers, their job involves preventing or aiding corruption. Either way, we want to look at it. So when I say this, I do this, and their own understanding is that the most important thing to do is to, first and foremost, bring in those who are responsible for teaching in the various universities. And that's the reason why they invited all these of Nigerian universities, about 115 of them, to buy in this idea of institutionalizing anti-corruption into the curriculum of legal training in Nigeria. This also was held about 1 month ago in Abuja. About 80% of these days attended, and that a committee was adopted. And one of the things we're expected to do is to nominate 3 lecturers from each of these universities, hoping that at least 2 of them will be selected for a continuation program of intervention. And that's the reason why we're here.
I am a Nigerian, a highly cultured race. My culture abhors corruption, and with my integrity, a new Nigeria is possible. I say no to corruption today to build a future for my children. Join me and imbibe the culture of integrity to build a Nigeria of our dreams.
This is Transparency Files, presenting a paper titled Law Educators, Curriculum Development and Review, Emerging Challenges and the Way Forward. Professor Garba Saad of Bayero University, Kano, underscored the importance of curriculum development as a continuous process that must respond to evolving societal realities. Let's hear him.
First question is to identify why are we setting up this education system? What outcomes do we want from what we are about to embark on? How do we carry it out? Using what resources? What is the duration? So in essence, all activities in a school system that seek to address these questions are referred to as curricular activities. Curriculum development also, I have quoted one by my mentor, my teacher. He says that it emphasizes the notion of a curriculum as a process. He said it implies that curriculum is a living organism which is subject to development, evolution, and change. Therefore, we went on to say that it is therefore that is curriculum development, a continuous process and means of ensuring continued relevance and responsiveness to the curriculum.
At the end of the highly productive workshop, our crew spoke with some of the participants who also shared their thoughts with us. Please, let's hear them.
Corruption is no longer a cankerworm or cancer that we call it. It has become a customary thing. Virtually everybody is involved in corruption. In fact, the cheapest of all that we all involved in is witnessing corruption and without reporting. So the idea of whether we should make it a standalone or are incorporated into our curriculum, they are fantastic. They both have their advantage or disadvantage. But in short, what I would recommend is for short-run effect, we should do integration. Integrate it to existing courses. Then at long run, we can adopt a standalone, whereby we will now use the instrumentality of NUC to impose that course on all the universities. So the issue of bureaucracy of whether to get Senate approval to start the course will not arise.
First and foremost, this workshop emphasizes the importance of integrating anti-corruption measures in Nigerian faculties of law of Nigerian universities. That's a good starting point. Actually, we are hopeful, or I am particularly hopeful, that going forward in the very near future, the program will be extended beyond the faculties of law into all other programs in Nigerian universities, because the problem of corruption is a universal phenomenon.
We already proposed the ways it can be implemented. Of course, we're still working on it, whether it's supposed to be a standalone course or is going to be incorporated into all the courses in the law program, right from 100 level to 500 level, which I think would be a better approach. Because from 100 level, there are courses that you can incorporate it into, up to 200 level, like legal system, constitutional law. There's always a way to incorporate it in all our courses, even criminal law at 300 level, 400 level, 500 level, name it. There's always a way to incorporate the objectives that the ICPC stands for into our curriculum. We're talking about law. Law is in every area.
It cannot be overemphasized. In fact, I had the most wonderful experience. It was very enlightening. In fact, this is what we need, actually, because anti-corruption is something that we need to integrate it into the Nigerian legal system. It is something that should have been done a long time ago, but we're happy. It's a welcome development. We're very happy that it has come, and we're welcoming it. And obviously, I know the students, especially our students now, they'll be very happy to have this on board.
The fight of corruption seems to revolve around lawyers. And if lawyers are able to fight and nip this in the bud, then it goes a very long way in truncating and stopping the practices of corruption. That is what and why I feel this very workshop is very needful, because as teachers and lecturers who train law students, if we start early to breed and inculcate these into them, and when they get into the market and into the society, it helps them to also inculcate it and practice it, basically.
From this workshop, I realized that eradicating corruption from Nigeria, we all know how deep corruption has eaten into our system, and we all see the effects of corruption. It cuts across so many organizations, health, education, environment, everywhere. And from this workshop, I realized that if we are going to curb corruption, then we have to start from the root. We have to start from the beginning. And how do we do it? Education. So inculcating anti-corruption law, anti-corruption curriculum into our educational system is definitely a welcome idea. And I hold the firm belief that it will be highly beneficial.
Essentially, we have come here to ensure that either we help the ICPC, we help the deans of law schools in Nigerian universities and the associating HODs, to ensure that they are able to develop a course, a standalone course called anti-corruption law in the Nigerian university system, to infuse it into the 30% component part of the CCMAS, because we, alongside other key stakeholders, we've given them 70% of the CCMAS for each program. So in this case, for the law programs too. So they have to develop that 30% component part. And so we're here to guide them as agency to ensure that that 30% component part is well rendered by them.
Corruption has been a very problematic issue in the country, and we all talk corruption. The problem is, what are we doing to stem the corruption in the system? And by inculcating anti-corruption law into Nigerian universities' curriculum will go a long way in shaping the new generation of Nigerian leaders. As they are being taught in the universities, they are being inculcated the necessary values, the norms that a citizen of the country should have. You imbibe this culture right from the way word go. The essence is to try and catch them young. instill the necessary values, the necessary cultural norms in our young students so that as they grow, morality, public trust will become a part of their DNA.
Good evening, fellow citizens. There comes a moment when lawyers must look into the mirror and ask, where did we lose our conscience? I ask that question not of the corrupt who steal from our treasury, but of the lawyers who defend them. Men and women called the learned, who once swore an oath to uphold justice, have now become architects of delay, craftsmen of technicality, and defenders of the indefensible. Our courts were built as temples of truth. But what happens when the priests of that temple begin to sell indulgences? We see it every day. A public officer is accused of looting billions. Evidence is piled high. Witnesses testify. The nation waits for justice. And then, like magic, a lawyer rises in court and says, "My lord, the charge is defective. My lord, the evidence was not properly tendered. My lord, the commission has no jurisdiction." Not one word about the people whose lives were destroyed by the stolen funds. Not one thought of the schools without roofs, the hospitals without medicine, the children without hope. Justice becomes a game of grammar, and truth becomes the casualty of brilliance. To those lawyers I ask, when you wear your black gown, do you remember the oath you took? Do you remember that the wig on your head is white, a symbol of purity, of truth and fairness? Or has it become a mask, a disguise for greed and self-interest? You say every man deserves a defense. True, but not every defense must destroy justice. Representation is not a license to deceive. Advocacy is not a permit for immorality. When you use the law to shield the corrupt, you do not serve the Constitution, you betray it. Each time a looter walks free through legal acrobatics, a village loses its clinic, a teacher loses her salary, a child loses his future. And yet, lawyers celebrate these acquittals as victories. But victory for whom? For the looter or for the slow death of our nation's conscience? And to some prosecutors, those who trade justice for handshake deals, remember, when you compromise a case, you do not just fail as a person, you fail your country. Justice is not a chessboard where power determines the winner. It is the heartbeat of civilization. When it stops, the nation dies. Quietly, lawfully, but completely. To every lawyer watching, your brilliance is a gift. Use it to build, not to bury. Defend the law, not the looter. Defend the people, not their oppressors. For history will not remember how clever your motions were, but whether you stood on the side of truth when your nation needed you the most. The gown you wear should never be a mask. Let it be a mirror of integrity, a banner of justice, and a reminder that the highest law is the law of conscience. Thank you.
Before we wrap up this edition of Transparency Files, let us join Phoenix Apolaha as she gives us update from our state offices.
From Sokoto office comes a report. The chairman of ICPC, Dr. Musa Adamu Aliu, SAN, has sensitized students of Yahaya Abdul Karim Government Girls' Day Secondary School and Yahaya Abdul Karim Model Primary School, Dorowa Road, Sokoto. The combined sensitization program was aimed at instilling the values of honesty, integrity, accountability, and transparency in young minds. The chairman emphasized that the fight against corruption begins with character building from an early age, noting that children who reject lying and stealing today are more likely to grow into responsible leaders who will reject corruption, misappropriation, and other unethical practices in the future. Similarly, from Sokoto office comes a report. The ICPC Sokoto State Office rounded off its African Union Anti-Corruption Day sensitization campaign with an outreach program for students of Sultan Machido Institute for Quran and General Studies, Sokoto. The sensitization program was organized in commemoration of the 2026 African Union Anti-Corruption Day, observed annually on 11th July, under the theme Scaling Up the Promotion of Integrity and Anti-Corruption Across Africa. The ICPC delegation was led by the representative of the Resident Anti-Corruption Commissioner, Deputy Superintendent Abdullahi Ibrahim Aliyu, who delivered a presentation titled Integrity Begins With Me. In his address, he encouraged the students to uphold the moral virtues and culture of integrity for which Sokoto State and Sultan Machido Institute are renowned. From Osun State comes a report that the Osun State Office of the Commission has presented certificate of participation to outgoing members of the National Youth Service Corps CDS Group in recognition of their commitment to promoting integrity and the fight against corruption during their service year. The certificate presentation ceremony was held at the ICPC Osun State Office, where the corps members were commended for their dedication to advancing the Commission's anti-corruption campaigns and contributing to the promotion of ethical values within their host communities. Addressing the outgoing corps members, Assistant Director Winifred Ingobro congratulated them on the successful completion of their national service and urged them to remain steadfast in upholding the principles of integrity, honesty, and accountability wherever they find themselves.
You have heard it all. The fight against corruption cannot begin only in the courtroom. It must begin in our classrooms, where future defenders of the law are shaped. By infusing anti-corruption studies into legal education, we are not simply producing graduates with legal knowledge. We are producing ethical leaders committed to justice, integrity, and national development. Thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you again on our next edition. Stay informed, stay ethical, and remember, integrity is the foundation of justice. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms showing on your screen. You can also watch other editions of the program on YouTube at ICPC Nigeria. It's bye for now.